Today is a very special day. It's Katie's birthday. Everyone say happy birthday, Katie. But it's also our 3-year anniversary, which seems crazy to me. Like, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but I guess it's been 3 years, so. Got a fun little project today. We're gonna be installing BRZ headlights on Katie's FR-S. I actually scored a set from a friend of mine. He sent me these off a car that he was working on, so that's what we're doing today. So in case you're unfamiliar with these cars and you're wondering why we would even bother with this, basically the FR-S is like the more basic version of these. Even though they're like mechanically the same car, the engine, transmission, everything is the same. The BRZ is just slightly better in a few different ways, and one of the ways is the headlights. As you can see, the FR-S lights are like all chrome, which to me looks a little bit outdated at this point, looks a little bit cheap. Also, this car is a 2014 and they actually came from the factory with halogen headlight bulbs, which I always thought was kind of weird. Now we've upgraded them to LEDs, but now we're gonna upgrade the entire thing to this BRZ light. Big shout out to my friend Austin for selling these to me for a really good price. So as you can see with the BRZ light, it's an all black enclosure. These came with Xenons instead of the halogen ones, which is a lot better light. And then also the other big difference is it's got this little LED light strip that lights up. I think they call it like a Boomerang or something like that. But yeah, this is gonna look a lot better. Let's go ahead and put these in. The first thing that we have to do is take off the bumper. I thought that it might be a little bit easier than that, but there's a couple screw holes on the bottom that you can't get to without taking the bumper off. So let's do that really quick and we'll get this started. Noticed in the video that my farmer stand is on a whole nother level, but anyway, before I get too deep into this, I should explain that if you're gonna do this at home, you're gonna need one of these 6-pin to 8-pin adapters. So because the BRZ has a couple extra light bulbs in the headlight, it's got a couple extra wires, so you're gonna need one of these. I'm gonna try my best to find one online so I can link it down below for anyone that's trying to do this. My friend Austin, who sold me the lights, actually gave these to me, so thanks for that. And then over the weekend, Brian from Keys Motorsports actually stayed at my house with his family. He was here on a little vacation. And while he was here, we figured out the wiring for it. So it's not exactly plug and play. In order to get that little LED strip to light up, you actually have to splice into some of these wires, which I'll show you a little bit later on in the video. But pick one of these up if you're gonna do this at home. So I've never taken this bumper off before, but just looking at it, doesn't look too bad. There's a handful of Phillips and 10mm bolts around the perimeter, so I'm gonna take those off. Shouldn't be too bad. Famous last words of any good car project. Oh, that won't take any time at all. But yeah, let's figure this out. Let's get this off, and then we'll swap those lights over. So in addition to those 10mm, there's also a handful of these little plastic fasteners. You can just use a small flathead screwdriver to pop those out. And inside the wheel well, you can see there's a couple of Phillips heads, so we'll take those out. That's weird, it's like a Phillips fastener, like the whole thing is plastic. And you give it like a quarter turn, they just kind of pop out, I guess. Never seen anything like that before, huh? There's just one more plastic fastener behind this corner light. So just one little word of caution here is that once you get the bumper off, these little bottom corner lights are still plugged in. So just be aware of that, like don't try to yank the bumper off the car, otherwise you're gonna stretch those wires. But now that we've got access to the light, let's go ahead and take this off and then we'll put the new ones in. So for reference, you can check out your new light to see where the screws are. You've got the two on top, of course. And then the frustrating thing is all that work that we just did to remove the bumper is just for this one little screw here on the side. So being a Japanese car, I thought that they would have made that a little bit easier, but that's okay. And it looks like there's gonna be one more here in the front. So right now I'm just unplugging the wiring harness that connects the light to the car, and we'll be good to go. So with the light installed at this point, we should be able to plug in this 8-pin to 6-pin adapter. And I know from trying this over the weekend, the headlights will turn on, but there's one extra step to make that LED thing work. But first, let's just plug this in and I'll show you the headlights. So the tricky part of this whole project is getting this little LED strip to light up, and basically on your new harness that I showed you, it's going to have these 3 extra wires. Now the yellow one you don't have to worry about, that's the turn signal. So on the BRZ, it has the turn signals in the headlight, but the FR-S has them in the bumper. Now if you don't touch anything on here, the ones in the bumper are still going to work just fine. So that's how I'm going to do it. You could have it so that the bulb in here lights up, but I'm not going to worry about that. The one that you need to pay attention to is this white one. It's labeled running light, and you're going to connect this white wire to the red wire that's in the harness in the car, and then this black one is just a ground. You're going to connect this to the black in the car's harness. So I'll put a little diagram if that makes it easier, but we're going to use these little wire tap things, and we're going to connect these wires, and this should light up. So on the back of the harness, we actually have to move this white wire over to this blank spot here. I'm not sure why it's wired that way, but in order for those to work, you got to move that one into that slot. So as you can see, we've got the little LED light strip working now. Now I ran into a couple little issues here. When we did the driver's side of the car, we connected the white wire from the harness to the red wire on the car, and that's what made that side light up. Now for some reason this side was actually different. I had to connect the white to the white. I don't know why they would have wired it differently on the other side of the car, but it took a little bit of trial and error to figure that out. Another thing is these wire taps that we used when Brian was over, they didn't really have a really solid connection. I think because that wire is just so thin, they moved around a little bit. So like if I moved the wires from behind, this light would flicker. I didn't really like that, so what I did is I actually cut a little bit of that plastic sleeve off the wire, wrapped the new wire around that, and then I put electrical tape over that. I know it's probably not like the proper way to do that, but the connection is a lot better now, and I'm just more comfortable running them like that. That way they're not like flickering while I'm driving. So I'm going to show you some close-ups of what that wiring harness looks like, and we'll do the other side. We'll be good to go here. The passenger side of the car, we have the white wire from the new harness going to the white wire in the car's harness. And on the driver's side, we have the white wire from the new harness going to the red wire in the car's harness. Pause. So I'm not an electrician, so I'm sorry if this part's a little bit confusing, but basically on the passenger side of the car, you're going to take that white wire from the new harness that's labeled daytime running light. You're going to connect that to the solid white wire on the car's harness. The black ground goes to the black ground wire. And then on the driver's side of the car, you're going to take that white wire that's labeled daytime running light, and you're going to connect it to the striped red wire in the car's harness. Again, black to black for the ground. I'm not sure why the colors are different on each side of the car. It makes it a little bit more confusing, but feel free to screenshot this diagram and use it as you're doing this project. Anyway, back to the video. Well, there you have it, fully functional Subaru BRZ headlights on a Scion FR-S / Toyota GT86. Now I'm actually really surprised because for how popular these cars are to modify, there was like hardly any information online about how to do this retrofit. There was one kind of crappy YouTube video on how to do it that didn't really explain the wiring. They kind of like glossed over that part. But I'm really happy with them. They are a genuine Subaru part made in Japan, so presumably the quality is going to be better than a lot of those like made in Taiwan, like eBay lights that a lot of people like to run on these cars. But yeah, I just think it's cool to modify your car. You know, a little bit of time, effort, and patience, you can end up with something that's a little different than what everyone else has. And even something like this, it's a very subtle thing, but maybe one day at a car meet, like somebody that really knows these cars might have to double take and say, hey, that's an FR-S bumper, but BRZ headlights, what's going on there? So it might be a cool conversation starter at some point. But anyway, thanks for watching the video. I'm gonna go take my wife out on a date for her birthday and our anniversary. So I'll see you guys in the next one.